Hmm. 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 Right. Right. Thank you. Yes. So Ritrasura is explaining why the Supreme Lord does not give material opulences to his unalloyed devotees. And we saw what will be the results of unnecessarily accumulating wealth or prestige. Hmm. So all the reasons. Okay. Anything else? Hmm. 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 Correct. So that's what Vritanasura is teaching Indra. So basically, 12th chapter, Vritanasura's glorious death. So when Indra is disappointed because the thunderbolt Vajra slipped from his hand, so now Vritanasura is trying to encourage Indra to fight. Hmm. Just like Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to fight, so similarly here, Vritanasura is encouraging Indra to fight. So therefore, the topic of discussion is almost similar. Hmm. And so we also discussed these verses, karma niyavadhikaras, they are Prabhupada is mentioning in the purports. So, so in the previous verse, the 10th verse, Vritaraj is saying, O King Indra, is a wooden doll that looks like a woman, or as an animal made of grass and leaves, cannot move or dance independently, but depends fully on the person who handles it. All of us dance according to the desire of the supreme control of the personality of Godhead. No one is independent. Isha Tantrani. Prahlad Maharaj also says that, no? Tepi Ishatantra Urudhamni Baddha. Ishatantra. Same thing here also. Ishatantra. So everyone is bound by this Ishatantra. So now, so previous to that, he said that how ultimately time is controlling everything. So time is giving victory, defeat, everything is being given by time. In the 9th verse, he said, but those who are foolish, they don't understand the influence of time and they think they are the cause of everything. Their body is the cause of everything. So we also saw the 5 causes of action. And then in the 10th verse, he's saying, but even time is not independent. Time is also under the control of the Supreme Lord. And to establish this fact, that how even time is under the control of the Supreme Lord, he is giving 2 examples in the next 2 verses. 11th verse. Purusha prakritir vyaktam atma bhutendriyashayah shaknuvantyasya sargado na vinayad anugrahat. The 3 Purushas, Kanodaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Shrodaksha Vishnu, the material nature, the total material energy, the false ego, the 5 material elements, the material senses, the mind, the intelligence, consciousness, cannot create the material manifestation without the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we already studied this in creation, how ultimately the Supreme Lord has to activate everything, and without that, no creation takes place. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is quoting from the Vishnu Puran, Parasya Brahmana Shakti Stadedam Akilam Jagat. Whatever manifestations we experience are nothing but various energies of the Supreme Personality of God. These energies cannot create anything independently. Then he's quoting Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. So ultimately, everything is being controlled by the Supreme Lord. And after that, he's quoting another verse from the Vedas, Madiyam Mahimanam Cha Parabrahmeti Shabditam Vetsyasi Anugrihitam Me Samprashnair Vivritam Ridhi. Since everything is a manifestation of my energy, I am known as Parabrahman. Therefore, everyone should hear from me about my glorious activities. Amadiri Devanam. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of God is the origin of everything, and no one is independent of him. Srila Madhvacharya also says, Anisha Jiva Rupena. The living entity is Anisha, never the controller, but is always controlled. Therefore, when living entity becomes proud of being an independent Ishvara or God, that is his foolishness. Such foolishness is described in the following verse. Okay. So, what is the foolishness in the next verse? Avidvan evam atmanam manyate nisham ishwaram bhute srujati bhutani grasate tani te swayam. Read.
A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although always independent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks according to one's previous fruitive actions, one material body is created by father and mother, the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings.
So Prabhupada is actually giving some purport in the translation itself, as he does in quite a few places. So therefore, sometimes Sanskrit scholars have problems with Prabhupada's translations. Hey, what is all this? This is not there in the verse. So then they only land into problems. They don't understand Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada is so eager to give the message. Right in the translation, he puts everything. So, one who is avidvan, foolish, avidvan evam atmanam manyate anisham ishvara. So, one who is avidvan, foolish, he considers himself as the Ishvara. Although he is anisham, totally dependent. So then, as Prabhupada is quoting from Karma Mimamsa, according to Karma Mimamsa, one's karma or previous fruitive activity is the cause of everything, and therefore there's no need to work. So this is the philosophy of the Mimamsakas. They think that everything is according to karma. If I do good work, I will get good reaction. If I do bad work, bad reaction. So where is the question of some supreme controller? That is what they say. Prabhupada says those who arrive at this conclusion are foolish. So what is their argument? So their argument is, so creation is done by, we see in this world, creation is done by the father. Father, mother, they're coming together, this creation of a child. Who is destroying? Animals like tigers or snakes, they destroy. So that is their, so where is the question of some supreme controller? Everything is happening by different people, different animals in this material world. So where is supreme controller? So that is their argument. But the argument is that that creation and destruction by these various other living entities is also controlled by the Supreme Lord. So those living entities are not independent. Bhute srujati bhutani grasate tani te swayam. So the living entities who are doing srujati and grasate, creation and destruction, it appears living entities only are doing creation destruction, but they are not independent in doing creation and destruction. So if somebody says, how will you prove this? What will you say? If somebody says, how will you prove this? No, we see man and woman come together and child is produced.
But every time they come together, child is not produced.
Yes. So Prabhupada explains in other places. So sometimes man and woman, father, mother, they are trying so hard to get a child. Sometimes throughout their life, they don't get a child. And sometimes some don't want a child and they get a child. That's another thing. So therefore it's clearly seen that they are not under control. And so practically everything we can see like that. Person is not under control. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is quoting from Bhagavad Sarvasya chaham hridi sanavishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam. Unless one receives dictation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead who sits within everyone's heart, when one cannot be induced to create anything. Therefore, the father and mother are not the creators of the living entity. According to the living entity's karma, fruitive activities, he is put into the semen of the father, who injects the living entity into the womb of the mother. Then, according to the body of the mother and father, yatha yoni yatha bijam, the living entity accepts the body and takes birth to suffer and joy. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the original cause of one's birth. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the cause of one's being killed. So, of course, in the recent history, in the Air India plane crash, good evidence. Everyone died except one. And everyone said it's a miracle. But who did the miracle? Of course, there was also a Bhagavad Gita. Yes. Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita could not be destroyed in spite of such a blazing fire. Think about it, only paper. Even metal, everything was burnt to ashes. But simple book made of paper was not burnt. Showing that it is transcendental. So, but we can see how everything is under superior control. So that one person had to survive. That was the Lord's plan for whatever reason. So everyone died except one. Okay, next. Ayushri kirtiraishwaryam ashisha purushasya ya bhavantyeva hi tatkale yatha nichor viparyayaha.
Just as a person not inclined to die must nonetheless give up his longevity, opulence, fame, and everything else at the time of death. So, at the appointed time of victory, one can gain all this when the Supreme Lord awards them by his mercy. Purport. It is not good to be falsely puffed up, saying that by one's own effort one has become opulent, learned, beautiful, and so on. All such good fortune is achieved through the mercy of the Lord. From another point of view, no one wants to die and no one wants to be poor or ugly. Therefore, why does the living entity, against his will, receive such unwanted troubles? It is due to the mercy or chastisement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that one gains or loses everything material. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent on the mercy or chastisement of the Supreme Lord. There is a common saying in Bengal that the Lord has 10 hands. This means that he has control everywhere in the 8 directions and up and down. If one wants to,
If he wants.
sorry, if he wants to take everything away from us with his 10 hands, we cannot protect anything with our 2 hands. Similarly, if he wants to bestow benedictions upon us with his 10 hands, we cannot factually receive them all with our 2 hands. In other words, the benedictions exceed our ambitions. The conclusion is that even though we do not wish to be separated from our possessions, sometimes the Lord forcibly takes them from us, and sometimes he showers such benedictions upon us that we are unable to receive them all. Therefore, either in opulence or in distress, we are not independent. Everything is dependent on the sweet will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, Vritanasura is explaining that ultimately, Ayu, Shri, Kirti, Aishwara, Ashisha, Purushasya Bhavanti Eva Hi, Tatkale, Yatha Anicha, Viparyaya. So basically he's saying one receives all these things at the proper time, tat kale. At the proper time, which is decided by the Supreme Lord. At the proper time, one will receive. Or at the proper time, they'll be taken away. Both. So, against one's desires, viparyaya. So, either they can be given or they can be taken away. So, therefore, Vritrasur wants to tell Indra, now is the proper time for you to get victory. So, therefore, you fight. Why are you not fighting? This is the proper time. If you fight, you will get victory, opulence, everything you will get. That is what he is trying to tell Indra, to encourage him to fight. So, of course, we already discussed these points. But ultimately, everything is dependent on the will of the Supreme Lord. What is in our control? 14. Tasmadakirtir yashasor jayapajayor api samasyat sukha dukkabhyam mrityu jivitayostata.
Since everything is dependent on the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should be equipoised in fame and defamation, victory and defeat, life and death. In their efforts, represented as happiness and distress, one should maintain oneself in equilibrium without anxiety.
Yes, so therefore he's saying, since everything is being controlled by the Supreme Lord, tasmad, therefore, see Prabhupada gives explanation right in the word to word. Because of being fully dependent on the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because everything is dependent on the Supreme Lord, therefore, akirti, yashiso, jaya, apajaya, in both one must be sama. Samasya, sukha dukkabhyam, mrityu, jivitayo, tatha. So in all these various dualities, one needs to be equipoised. Same message in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna is saying. Second chapter, 38th verse. What is that? Kholo. Huh? Correct. Yes. So, labha, labho, jaya, jayo. So, in all these various dualities, he says, fight, yudhyasva. What's the last line? Yudhyasva? If you fight, you will not be affected by sinful activities because it is a duty, you fight. So, same message, what Krishna is giving in Bhagavad Gita, same thing he is saying here. So, don't be affected by these various dualities. Any case, now time is favorable for you, you will definitely get victory, so you fight. But ultimately, everything is happening by the supreme will of the Lord. And so, one should be equipoised and equilibrium, one should not be affected by victory or defeat. Same theme practically continues. 15. Sattvam rajastama iti prakrite natmano gunaha tatra sakshinam atmanam yo veda sanabhadyate.
One who knows that the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are not qualities of the soul, but qualities of material nature, and who knows that the pure soul is simply as an observer of the action and reaction of these qualities, should be understood to be a liberated person. He is not bound by these qualities.
Yeah, so here he wants to say that ultimately victory and defeat is caused by three modes. So just like Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 27th verse. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimuratma karta ahmiti manite. Same thing here also. He's saying everything is done by three modes. So victory and defeat is also because of three modes. And the soul is simply an observer. He is not the doer. So therefore, one who understands this philosophy, he is not bound. Na bhadyate. The soul is only sakshinam. He is only an observer. As far as the different activities of the body are concerned, everything is being done by the three modes. So one who understands this, then he's not affected by victory and defeat, because ultimately it's only happening because of the influence of three modes. Therefore, one who understands this, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate paran. So one who understands this, he's on the soul platform, then he's not affected by shochati kankshati, because he knows all these changes in the material world, whatever dualities we are seeing in the material world, everything is being created by three modes. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, when one attains self-realization, the Brahmbhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. The living being, the pure soul, has nothing to do with these modes. In the midst of the hurricane of the material worlds, that's quite graphic, huh? Hurricane, there's a hurricane, cyclone. Everything changes very quickly. We can see in front of our eyes how many things change. In a few years, how many things change right in front of us. How many people come, how many people go, how many people become old, some go away from this world, how many things happen. So, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, he is understood to be liberated. So one should not be affected by this hurricane. Otherwise, tendency in the world is one gets too much affected. Arey, what's happening? Arey, this person has gone, that person has gone. Arey, what will happen to me? Dekhte raho bas. So many things will change, including our own bodies. Everything is going to change. Material world means what? The only constant thing in this world is change. So nothing to be surprised. Everything is going to change, except the soul. So therefore, one should not become bewildered by all these changes. So one who is not bewildered, then he is dhira. He is liberated. The real qualification of the liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious, undisturbed by the actions and reactions of the material energy. Such a liberated person is always jubilant. He never laments or aspires for anything. Since everything is supplied by the Supreme Lord, the living entity, being fully dependent on him, should not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. Rather, he should receive everything as the mercy of the Lord and remain steady in all circumstances. Very beautiful instruction Srila Prabhupada is giving. Practical instructions. This is the beauty of Prabhupada's purports. Brings everything down to a very practical level for our application. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada himself is the practical example for this, as we were discussing yesterday also. So many things happen right in front of his eyes, right from the point of starting ISKCON, so many things happen. But Srila Prabhupada went on. Exactly the same thing what he's writing here. Remains silent and simply observes actions and reactions of the hurricane. So when one of the very prominent leaders of ISKCON in the 70s was Madhudvi Swami, you may have heard. He was, if you see Prabhupada's videos in Australia, you will see him practically in all the videos. You'll see him. Of course, he passed away quite a few years back. So, Harishwari Prabhu describes in his Transcendental Diary, somewhere in 74 or 75. So this Madhudvi Swami was such a powerful leader. Prabhupada in fact called him the king of Kirtan. Supposed to be very powerful Kirtan singer. But then he had difficulties. in the sannyas. So he had written a letter to Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada received the letter, so Harishwara Prabhu only gave that letter to Srila Prabhupada. So when Srila Prabhupada read that letter, how this Madhudvi Swami has written about his difficulties in continuing his sannyas ashram, wants to get married. So Srila Prabhupada was definitely disappointed, visibly disappointed, because such a prominent leader has difficulties. So he was visibly disappointed. But the only thing that Srila Prabhupada said was, what to do? I'm dealing with 10th class men. That's all. No other comment. So that's all. But then, of course, when this incident happened, Srila Prabhupada was translating and giving purpose to the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is where, yes, Srila Prabhupada wrote that quite a prominent, well-known purport at the beginning of the Gajendra pastime of how one must be situated in an ashram where one has sensual prowess, mental strength, and one more thing. Any case, I'm sure many of you may have read that purport, right? Huh? Yes. So that is when Srila Prabhupada wrote that purport. When this Madhudvi Swami, he wrote that letter. That is when Prabhupada wrote that. So the point is, yes, Srila Prabhupada was disappointed, and so many other things also happened. Srila Prabhupada did express disappointment, anger, everything Prabhupada expressed. But the important thing is, Srila Prabhupada continued on with his service. The service never stopped. Service went on. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is writing here. So many things will come, go, change. So many things will happen. That's the nature of this world. But what we should do? Remain silent and simply observe. And continue on with our duties. That is what we should be doing. Because ultimately we have to understand that everything is happening by the will of the Supreme Lord. That's what. Since everything is supplied by the Supreme Lord, the living entity being fully dependent on Him should not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. Receive everything as the mercy of the Lord and remain steady in all circumstances.
Just this, we are hearing from yesterday, the sense gratification word Prabhupada is writing, not for personal sense gratification. So the question is, how do there is sometimes a thin line between sense gratification and our needs also. Sometimes somebody may need to go in the AC train or flights or whatever. In other cases also somebody's needs may be extra. So in personal life also, how can we be more careful for this?
So of course, personal needs differ from person to person, cannot be generalized. Whether one is a need or luxury can be understood by whether one can survive without them.
That though it is possible in that, but person feels more troubled by that.
See, suppose if I don't have something and my Krishna consciousness is being seriously affected, that means it's a need, right? Yes, that is the ultimate principle. Accept what is favorable, reject what is unfavorable. So, just like, just to give an example, just like somebody wants non-spicy prasad. So of course that's not a luxury. but just as an example. So if one is requesting for that, it cannot be considered as an unnecessary demand, isn't it? Because that is necessary for one to execute Krishna consciousness properly. So the same principle applies everywhere. So if something is required to execute Krishna consciousness nicely without too much of discomfort, then it's understood. Of course, if there are doubts, one can confirm with seniors. Okay. So here, so this is what Vritrasura is telling Indra. Vritrasura is telling Indra, why are you so much affected by victory and defeat? Ultimately, victory and defeat are going to be caused by three modes. So don't be so much affected. And then to show an example or a proof for the Siddhanta, he's giving his own example as a proof in the next verse. Pashyamam nirjitam shatru vrikna yudha bhajam ridhe gatamanam yatha shakti tava prana jihirshaya.
O my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arms have been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with a desire to kill you, I am trying my best to fight. I am not at all morose, even under such a adverse condition. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. Purport. Vritrasur was so great and powerful that in effect he was acting as a spiritual master of Indra. Although Vritrasur was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. But since he was supposed to be Indra's enemy, he tried his best to kill Indra. Thus, he performed his duty. One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be.
Yes. So here he is giving his own example. He's saying, just look at me. I have been defeated, my one arm has been cut off, but still I'm fighting. So why are you so morose? Your arm has not been cut off. My arm has been cut off, still I'm trying to fight. I'm not morose, I'm doing my duty. So why are you so morose? So that's how he is trying to encourage Indra to fight. So he's giving his own example as one who is not affected by victory and defeats. So he's saying, I've been apparently defeated, but I'm not morose. So therefore, the lesson is what? One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be. So this is what the Shastra, all Shastras emphasize on this point. What? Perform duty. Duty needs to be performed. Whatever is the assigned duty needs to be performed in all circumstances. And then he is giving another example in the next verse. Prana glahoyam samara ishva aksho vahanasanaha atra na jnayate amushya jayo amushya parajayah.
O my enemy, consider this battle a gambling match in which our lives are the stakes. The arrows are the dice, and the animals acting as carriers are the game board. No one can understand who will be defeated, who will be the victorious. It all depends on providence.
So he's comparing this fight to gambling match. And is giving nice analogy. Different parts of the war field to the gambling match. And so just in gambling match, nobody knows who is going to win, who is going to be defeated. So this war is also like the gambling match. Nobody knows. Jaya, Parajay. Nobody knows. So therefore, fights. So in this way, Vritrasur gave these wonderful instructions to Indra to inspire him to fight, perform his duty, and as Prabhupada is writing, Dhritarashtra acted like the spiritual master of Indra and is giving wonderful instructions. And of course, is giving instructions to all of us how we must perform our duty, being detached from the results and continuing with our duty in all circumstances. That is actual victory. We have a good example in that connection of Jatayu. So Jatayu, just like here Prabhupada is writing, one must perform one's duty even though one knows what the result will be. So Jatayu knew very well that he cannot win against Ravan. But still, duty had to be performed. And so he tried his best. And even though apparently he was defeated, but he got ultimate victory because Lord Ramchandra himself performed the last rite, sent him back to the spiritual world. So that's a good example for this. 18. Shri Shuka Vacha Indro Vrita Vacha Shrutva Gatalikam Apujayat Gurihita Vajra Prahasam Tamaha Gata Vismayaha.
Shukadeva Swami said, hearing the straightforward, instructive words of Dhritarashtra, King Indra praised him and again took the thunderbolt in his hand. Without bewilderment or duplicity, he then smiled and spoke to Dhritarashtra as follows.
Purport.
King Indra, the greatest of the demigods, was astonished to hear the instructions of Dhritarashtra, who was supposed to be a demon. He was struck with wonder that a demon could speak so intelligently. Then he remembered great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, who had been born in the families of demons, and thus he came to his senses. Even so-called demons sometimes have exalted devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Indra smiled reassuringly at Dhritarashtra.
So in the beginning, he was very astonished. How this demon is speaking such wonderful philosophy? But then he remembered Prahlad and Bali Maharaj. And then he thought, yes, even so-called demons can be great devotees. Hundreds of times more devotion than demigods like us. And therefore he smiled. So initially he was astonished, but then later on he smiled. Actually, Prabhupada takes commentaries exactly from the previous acharyas. If you see, this is exactly taken from Vishwanath Chakravarti. Almost it is as it is. So now Indra is speaking to Dhritarashtra. Indra uvacha aho danava siddhosi yasya te matiridrishi bhakta sarvatmanatmanam suradham jagatishwaram.
Indra said, O great demon, I see by your discrimination and endurance in devotional service, despite your dangerous position, that you are a perfect devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul and friend of everyone.
Okay, so now this is Indra's conclusion after hearing from Dhritarashtra. His conclusion is that you siddha asi, you have become siddha, you are perfect. Mati idrishi bhakta. So your mati, your consciousness is of a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, who is Suradam Jagatishwaram. Prabhupada is quoting from Bhagavad Gita, Yam labdhva chapram labam manyate nadikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate. Gurunapi vichalyate. So dukkha guru means what? Very great dukkha. So even in spite of very great dukkha, na vichalyate. That is a sign of an exalted yogi. So this comes in the 6th chapter. The symptoms of the yogi. So these are the symptoms of the yogi who is on a very elevated platform. Established in Krishna consciousness, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. An unalloyed devotee is never disturbed by any kind of trying circumstance. Indra was surprised to see that Vritrasur, undisturbed, was fixed in devotional service to the Lord. For such a mentality is impossible for a demon. However, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, anyone can become an exalted devotee. Striyo Vaishya Sada Shudras Tepiyanti. An unalloyed devotee is sure to return home back to Godhead. So this is the symptom of an exalted yogi or devotee. He is not disturbed even in great calamities. He is not disturbed. 20. Bhavanadarsan mayam vai Vaishnavim janamohinim yad vihaya suram bhavam mahapurushatam gataha.
You have surmounted the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, and because of this liberation, you have given up the demoniac mentality and have attained the position of an exalted devotee.
Yes, so he's saying the reason why he has come to that position. Atarshit mayam. You have surmounted Maya. So because you have surmounted Maya, crossed over Maya, you have come to the liberated platform, and therefore you are manifesting all these symptoms. Mahapurushatam gataha. You have obtained the position of an exalted devotee. So Prabhupada writes, Lord Vishnu is Mahapurusha, therefore one who becomes a Vaishnava attains the position of a Mahapaurusha. This position was attained by Maharaj Parikshit. Yes, this comes in the first canto. It is said in the Padma Puran that the distinction between demigod and demon is that demigod is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, whereas demon is just the opposite. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Deva Asurastad Viparya. Vritrasur was considered demon, but actually was more than qualified as a devotee or Mahapaurusha. If one somehow becomes a devotee of the Supreme Lord, whatever his position, he can be brought to the position of a perfect person. This is possible if an unalloyed devotee tries to serve the Lord by delivering this. And then it's quoting Kirata Hunandrapal. Anyone can be purified if he takes shelter of a pure devotee and molds his character according to the pure devotee's direction. Yad apashraya ashraya. So taking shelter of those who have taken shelter, that is the devotees. So if one follows the instructions of a pure devotee, then one can become purified and elevated to the position of a Mahapaurusha. Okay, 21. Kalvidam mahadasharyam yadraja prakrutestava vasudeve bhagavati sattvatmani dhridamati.
Oh, Drasu. Demons are generally conducted by the mode of passion. Therefore, what a great wonder it is that although you are a demon, you have adopted the mentality of a devotee and have fixed your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is always situated in pure goodness.
Yes. So he's saying, Kalvidam mahadasharyam. This is great wonder that even though demons are usually in Rajogun, but you are situated in Sattva Atmani, you are situated in pure goodness. So I'm surprised. So he's saying definitely this must be due to the mercy of a great devotee. As Prabhupada is saying, as for Prahlad Maharaj, he was initiated by Narad Muni, and therefore it was possible for him to become a great devotee, although he was born in a family of demons. For Vritrasur, however, Indra could not detect such causes. Therefore, he was struck with wonder that Vritrasur was such an exalted devotee that he could fix his mind without deviation upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna Vasudeva. 22. Yasya bhaktir bhagavati harau nishreyaseshware vikridato amritam bodau kim kshudrei khatakhodake.
A person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches?
Yes. So Indra knows everything, all philosophy he knows. But when it comes to practice, there's a problem. So he knows that somebody who is Yasya Bhaktir Bhagavati, somebody who is a devotee of Hari, then what happens? Vikridita Amrita Ambodho. He is swimming or playing in the ocean of nectar, the nectar of devotional service, nectar of devotion. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So one is swimming in that ocean of nectar, then Kim Kshudrei Katakodakai. Then what is the use of some small ditches of water? They're insignificant. So for a devotee who is tasting the nectar of devotional service, then all material things are insignificant. So therefore Prabhupada is quoting the previous verse, how Vritrasur, he said, Na nakaprishtam, na chaparameshtyam, na samabhaumam, na rasadipatyam. I do not want happiness of Brahmaloka, Svargaloka, Dhruvaloka. So why? Because he's tasting something much higher. Param drishtva nivartate. So if one gets the higher taste, then it will be possible to give up the lower taste. We already discussed how to develop taste, ruchi. Yes, nishtha. So if one steadily continues performance of devotional service, then one can get that ruchi. This is the determination of a pure devotee. A pure devotee is never attracted to any exalted position within this material world. He simply wants to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead like the inhabitants of Vrindavan. These are the highest ambitions of a devotee of Krishna. Devotees of Lord Vishnu may aspire for a position in Vaikuntha Loka, but a devotee of Krishna never aspires even for the facilities of Vaikuntha. He wants to return to Golok Vrindavan and associate with Lord Krishna in his eternal pastimes. Any material happiness is like water in a ditch, whereas spiritual happiness, eternally enjoyed in the spiritual world, is like an ocean of nectar in which a devotee wants to swim. So this should be our aspiration, to experience this nectar, the nectar of Krishna consciousness. So if one experiences that nectar, then all material happiness will appear to be kshudra, very insignificant, like some water in a small ditch. Who's in? And rainy season now, so many places we find ditches of water. How seriously anybody takes it. But in order to experience that, one should get the higher taste. Then it will be possible. And of course, that is all obtained by mercy. When one steadily practices devotional service, by mercy of Guru and Krishna, one can experience that higher taste. So this is what Indra, so Indra glorified Vritrasur, that how he is such an exalted devotee, even though in the body of a demon. Okay, now read the next translation.
Srila Sukdev Goswami said, Vritrasur and King Indra spoke about devotional service even on the battlefield. And then, as a matter of duty, they again began fighting. My dear king, both of them were great fighters and were equally powerful.
Okay, so both of them are devotees, both of them know about devotional service. But then you see, they didn't say, okay, now let the Lord do whatever he wants. That was the philosophy, Krishna is in control, we are dependent on him, no one is independent. Then they could have just sat down, let the Lord do what. No, duty has to be performed. So therefore, as a matter of duty, they are fighting. Dharma jigyasya nipa. So they spoke about dharma. But then still they are fighting. Okay, next.
O Maharaj Parikshit, Vritrasura, who was completely able to subdue his enemy, took his iron club, whirling it around, aimed it at Indra and then threw it, and at him with his left hand.
We get simple reactions.
We'll come to that. आगे पढ़ो. 25.
With his thunderbolt named Sataparvan, Indra simultaneously cut to pieces Rudrasura's club and his remaining hand.
So Indra cut Vritrasu's remaining hand also. One hand was only remaining. Now he cut the other hand also.
Rudrasur, bleeding profusely, his two arms cut off at their roots, looked very beautiful, like a flying mountain whose wings have been out to pieces by Indra. Cut to pieces by Indra.
Okay, so and Vritrasur looked beautiful even in that situation. Okay, Prabhupada is saying how mountains also had wings previously. Okay, next.
Vitrasur was very powerful in physical strength and influence. He placed his lower jaw on the ground and his upper jaw in the sky. His mouth became very deep, like the sky itself, and his tongue resembled a large serpent. With these fearful, death like teeth, he seemed to be trying to devour the entire universe. Thus, assuming a gigantic body, the great demon Vritrasur shook even the mountains and began crushing the surface of the earth with his legs, as if he were the Himalayas walking about. He came before Indra and swallowed him, and Airavat, his carrier, just as a big python might swallow an elephant.
Now, no hands, so only mouth is there. But such a huge mouth, lower lip on the ground, upper lip in the sky. And so with this huge mouth, he swallowed Indra and Airavat. Both he swallowed. Again?
When the demigods, along with Brahma, other Prajapatis, and other great saintly persons, saw that Indra had been swallowed by the demon, they became very morose. Alas, they lamented. What a calamity! What a calamity!
Oh, they're lamenting. Next.
The protective armor of Narayana, which Indra possessed, was identical with Narayana himself, the supreme personality of Godhead, protected by that armor and by his own mystic power. King Indra, although swallowed by Vitrasur, did not die within the demon's belly.
Yes, so Indra had Narayan Kavach. Who gave Narayan Kavach? Vishwarup. So because of that power, and of course he had his own Yogamaya Balena. So he had his own mystic power also. Because of that, he did not die, even though he was swallowed. Next.
With his thunderbolt, King Indra who was also extremely powerful, pierced through Vitrasur's abdomen and came out. Indra, the killer of the demon Bala, then immediately cut off Vitrasur's head, which was as high as the peak of a mountain.
Yes. So Indra was so powerful. So even though he was swallowed, he pierced through Vritrasur's abdomen and he came out and then he began to cut Vritrasur's head. Again.
Although the thunderbolt revolved around Vritrasur's neck with great speed, separating his head from his body, took one complete year, 360 days. The time in which the sun, the moon, and other luminaries complete a northern and southern journey. Then, at a suitable time for Vritrasur to be killed, his head fell to the ground.
Okay, next.
When Vritrasur was killed, the Gandharvas and the Siddhas in the heavenly planets beat kettle drums in jubilation. With Vedic hymns, they celebrated the prowess of Indra, the killer of Vritrasur, praising Indra and showering flower upon him with great pleasure.
Next.
O King Parikshit, subduer of enemies, the living spark then came forth from Vritrasur's body and returned home back to Godhead. While all the demigods looked on, he entered the transcendental world to become an associate of Lord Shankarshan.
Purport.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Indra, not Vritrasur, was actually killed. He says that when Vritrasur swallowed King Indra and his carrier, the elephant, he thought, now I have killed Indra, and therefore there is no more need of fighting. Now Let me return home back to Godhead. Thus, he stopped all his bodily activities and became situated in trance. Taking advantage of the silence of Vritrasur's body, Indra pierced the demon's abdomen. And because Vritrasur's trance, Indra was able to come out. Now, Vritrasur was in Yoga Samadhi. And therefore, although the king Indra wanted to cut his throat, the demon's neck was so stiff that Indra's thunderbolt took 360 days to cut it into pieces. Actually, it was the body left by Vitrasur that was cut to pieces by Indra. Vitrasur himself was not killed. In his original consciousness, Vitrasur returned home back to Godhead to become an associate of Lord Sankarshan. Here, the word Alokam means the transcendental world, Vaikuntha Lok, where Sankarshan eternally resides.
Okay, so when Indra was swallowed by Vritrasur, Vritrasur thought, now who's going to kill me? Because Indra is within him, so who's going to kill? So therefore, using his mystic powers, he left the body. He left the body, he went back to the abode of Lord Shankarshan. And so when Indra came out, what was he cutting? He was cutting dead body only. Vritrasur had already left. He was only cutting the neck of dead body. But because he was in Samadhi at that time, the neck was so stiff, took 1 year for him to just cut that neck. And that too with not ordinary weapon, Vajra. With that Vajra also it took 360 days for him to cut. Thus, in the Bhagavatam purpose of the 6th canto, 12th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Vritrasur's Glorious Death. Now, that's not clear. But okay, but still, yes, that was clear. So if it is 360 days according to heavenly calculation, then no, but here he is saying so that seems to be as per earth calculation. So if it is according to earth calculation, 1 year, our 1 year is for them 6 months is 12 hours. 6 months is 12 hours. So basically 24 hours. So not so much. From his perspective, yes, one full but that is also quite from his perspective also 24 hours to just cut the throat. That is also too much, no? Any questions? You heard something? I think so that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the sense that yes, Indra was, because Vritrasur went back to Godhead. So in that sense, he remained eternally. Indra was left in this material world to die. In that sense. ठीक है, sinful reaction, ना? ठीक है, ठीक है. Now it will come in this chapter. ठीक है. So 13th chapter, Indra afflicted by sinful reaction. Shri Shuka Uvacha Vritre Hate Tayo Loka Vinashakrina Bhurida Sapalahi Abhavan Sadyo Vijvara Nirvritendriya.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, who are so charitably disposed, when Vritrasur was killed, all the presiding deities and everyone else in the 3 planetary system was immediately pleased and free from trouble. Everyone, that is, except Indra.
So everyone was happy, okay, demon is killed, Vritrasur, except Indra. So why Indra was not happy, that's what we'll see. Text 2. Devarshi Pitribhutani Daitya Devanugasvayam Prati Jagmu Swadishnyani Brahmeshendradayastatah.
Thereafter, the demigods, the great saintly person, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Bhutaloka, the demons, the followers of the demigod, and also Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the demigods subordinates to Indra, all returned to their respective homes. While departing, however, no one spoke to Indra.
Okay, so Prabhupada is quoting directly from Vishwanath Chakravarti. Okay, read the translation.
In this connection,
नहीं, ठीक है.
Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the other demigods returned to their respective abodes, but Indra did not, for he was disturbed at having killed Rutrasur, who was actually a Brahmana. After killing Rutrasur, Indra went to the Manas Sarovar lake to become free from sinful reactions. When he left the lake, he performed an Ashwamedha Yajna and then returned to his own abode.
Okay, so even though here it is said that they all went to their respective homes, but Indra actually did not go to his home. So Indra had to go to the Manas Sarovar lake and live there for 100 years or 1000 years, it will come now. And then after that, Ashwamedha Yajna, then only he could go. So that remaining thing is now told in the future verses, what exactly happened. So now Parikshit Maharaj is asking question. Okay, read the translation.
Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, O great sage, what was the reason for Indra's unhappiness? I wish to hear about this. When he killed Rudrasur, all the demigods were extremely happy. Why then was Indra himself unhappy?
Okay, so a logical question. Everyone was happy. Why was Indra unhappy?
Perfect.
Here Prabhupada is talking about an important point. Herein it's clearly indicated that a person who is not at all demoniac, such as Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, may outwardly be a demon or be born in a family of demons. Therefore, in terms of real culture, one should not be considered a demigod or demon simply according to his birth. In his dealings while fighting with Indra, Vritrasur proved himself a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the important point is that one should not judge a Vaishnava on the basis of externals or some material qualifications. So therefore, if we judge a Vaishnava on the basis of material qualifications, then there could be possibility of committing an offense. Therefore, Rupa Goswami is saying in the Nectar of Instruction, 6th verse, what? दृष्टे स्वभाव जनितैर् वपुषस्य दोषे न प्राकृतत्वम् इह भक्त जनस्य पश्येत् गंगां बसां न खलु बुद्बुदफेन पंके ब्रह्म द्रवत्वम् अपगच्छति नीरधर्मै. So Rupa Goswami is saying drishte, everything is based on drishti. So we should not see na prakritatvam, we should not see a Vaishnav on material considerations. Drishte svabhava janite vapushasya doshe. So one should not see the vapu dosha or the dosha on the basis of body, on the basis of birth, material qualifications, country. So one should not see these external qualifications or the external designations. Therefore, Prabhupada is also quoting this other verse from the Shastras. Satkarmo nipno vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnavo guru nasajat Vaishnava shwapacho guru. So Brahman cannot be a guru if he is not a Vaishnava. On the other hand, Shwapach can be guru if he is Vaishnava. So therefore, the birth and all these external considerations don't matter. The main thing is one should be a devotee, Vaishnava. Then all these external considerations should not be considered. This means that an expert Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. A millionaire may very easily possess hundreds and thousands of dollars, but a person with hundreds and thousands of dollars is not necessarily a millionaire. Vritrasura was a perfect Vaishnava and therefore he was also a Brahmana. Okay, next, read translation.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami answered, when all the great sages and demigods were disturbed by the extraordinary power of Rudrasur, they had assembled to ask Indra to kill him. Indra, however, being afraid of killing a Brahman, declined their request.
Okay, so when Vritrasur was troubling all the devatas and the sages, they all requested Indra to kill Vritrasur. But at that time, Vritrasur was afraid. Why? Next verse.
King Indra replied, when I killed Vishwarupa, I received extensive sinful reactions, but I was favored by the woman, land, trees, and water, and therefore I was able to divide the sin among them. But now, if I kill Rudrasur, another Brahman, how shall I free myself from the sinful reactions?
Okay, so this was Indra's argument. See, already I killed one Brahmana, and somehow I suffered. 1 year he suffered, no? 1 year he was atoning, and then he distributed. So already so much suffering. So how can I kill another Brahmana? So then what the sages said? Next.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, hearing this, the great sage replied to King Indra, O King of heaven, all good fortune unto you. Do not fear. We shall perform an Ashwamedha sacrifice to release you from any sin you may accrue by killing the Brahmana.
So the sages said, don't worry, don't worry. You kill, then we will do Ashwamedha sacrifice and nullify sinful reactions. Don't fear, don't fear. We'll do the needful. So, actually, here comes a very important lesson. So then what the rishis continued? Next, read.
The rishis continued, O King Indra, by performing an Ashwamedha sacrifice and thereby pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, Lord Narayana, the Supreme Controller, one can be relieved even of the sinful reactions for killing the entire world, not to speak of killing a demon like Rudrasur.
Right, so they are saying, if you perform Ashwamedha sacrifice, what to speak of sin of killing one Brahmana, even the sin of killing the entire world can be nullified by Ashwamedha sacrifice. What? You're worrying about such small thing. Now they're giving further justification. Next 2 verses.
One who has killed a Brahman, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or spiritual master can be immediately free from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord Narayan. Other sinful persons, such as a dog eater and chandalas, who are less than Shudras, can also be freed in this way. But you are a devotee, and we shall help you by performing a great horse sacrifice. If you please Lord Narayana in that way, why should you be afraid? You will be freed even if you kill the entire universe, including the Brahmanas, not to speak of killing or disturbing demons like Rudrasur.
So they are saying, see, what to speak of this Vritrasur demon, even if you kill Brahmana, Brahmaha, Pitriha, Gogno, whatever. So killing Brahmana, cow, father, mother, spiritual master, any sin you perform, doesn't matter. You just chant holy names, everything can be nullified. And what to speak of your great Indra, king of heaven? What, even dog eaters and chandalas can be nullified. What to speak of you? And we are not telling you just to chant holy name. We are going to perform Ashwamedha sacrifice. That is much more powerful. Even if you kill the entire universe, also no problem. See what kind of Brahmanas these. Okay, now Prabhupada is writing an important purport. Read.
It is said in Brihad Vishnu Puran, Namno hi yavati shakti papa niharane yare tavat kartum na shaknoti patakam pataki nara. Also in the Prem Vivarta of Jagdananda Pandit, it is said, Eka Krishna name papira yata papa kshaya. बहु जन्मे से ही पापी
karite
करते
naraya.
naraya. This meant that by once chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can be freed from the reactions of more sins that he can even imagine performing. The holy name is so spiritually potent that simply by chanting the holy name, one can be freed from the reactions to all sinful activities. What then is to be said of those who chant the holy name regularly or worship the deity regularly? For such purified devotee, freedom from sinful reaction is certainly assured. This does not mean, however, that one should intentionally commit sinful acts and think himself freed from the reactions because he is chanting the holy name. Such a mentality is a most abominable offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. Namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi. The Lord's holy name certainly has the potency to neutralize all sinful activities. But if one repeatedly and intentionally commits sins while chanting the holy name, he is most condemned. These words name the
Okay, fine. Okay. So now here Prabhupada is speaking other things, that these verses name the performers of various sinful deeds. So he's giving a list of various sinful people, different types of sinful people. Nishada, Pukkasha, then Kshatta. So who is addressed as Shatta? You mean in the Bhagavatam? Yes, Vidura. Shvada. So all such offsprings are considered extremely sinful, but the holy name of the Supreme Personality of God is so strong that all of them can be purified simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So and when now Holy Name Week is going on, so some good glorification of the holy name. The Hare Krishna movement offers everyone a chance to be purified, regardless of birth or family. And then it's quoting Kiratonanda. Herein, the sages encourage King Indra to kill Vritrasur, even at the risk of Brahmahatya, the killing of a Brahmana, and they guarantee to release him from sinful reactions by performing an Ashwamedh Yajna. Such purposefully devised atonement, however, cannot relieve the performer of sinful acts. This will be seen from following. So you got your answer? So this is the reason. So this is what? Purposefully devised atonements. So therefore, the sages said, no problem, kill him, no problem. We'll perform Ashwamedh Yajna later on. But then, because it is purposefully committed sinful activity on the strength of atonements, so therefore it became what? Offense. It became an offense. And therefore it became such a serious offense that the Brahmanas who promised to perform Ashwamedh sacrifice, then they said, sorry sir, now you are not qualified. Such a big offense. You are not qualified now. And so therefore, the important lesson here is that one should not perform wrong activities on the strength of some atonement. ठीक है, चलता है, बाद में ये कर लेंगे, कुछ तो कर लेंगे. No. So then it will become a very serious offense. And therefore, we discussed this in one of our Brahmachari class also, we had discussed this point. So Vishwanath Thakur, in his Madhurya Kadamani, he makes this distinction between what is Seva Aprad and Nam Aprad. So he says the difference between Seva Aprad and Nam Aprad is what? The intention. That is the difference. So Seva Aprad is when an offense or a neglect during service is unknowingly committed. It's unknowingly committed, and the devotee seriously repents for it. But when the same activity is committed either knowingly or because of irresponsibility or laziness, and then one justifies it, then it becomes offense. So we gave an example that time. In fact, we performed some small skit also devotees had performed in that class, if somebody remembers. Huh? You remember what skit they did? So anyways, so just like if a pujari, आगे बोलो. ठीक है. So just like a pujari is last minute he has been told to do offering arti. So he rushes into the altar and then he forgets to do achman. He forgets to do achman and then he starts his service. He's doing arti. So while he's doing arti, he remembers, oh, I forgot to do achman. Now there can be two responses. What can be the two responses? One response could be, oh, I forgot. I should have done achman. I forgot. So he is repentful. He is repentful. He prays to the Lord. Then later on he may chant some extra rounds of Hare Krishna like that. Second response could be, चलता है, अरे वो क्या है, एक बार आचमन नहीं किया तो क्या, कौन सी बड़ी बात है. So anyway, I was helpless. See, they told me to do the offering last minute. So what I could, it's not my mistake. It's all justification. So if one justifies like that, then it becomes nam aprad. From seva aprad, it becomes nam aprad. And then the reaction is more severe. And so therefore, one definitely has to take this thing seriously. So therefore, in seva aprad also, if one unknowingly does it, then yes, it can be nullified by chanting the holy names and sincere repentance. But one should not just justify, chalta hai. No. Therefore, on the path of devotional service, what is very important is what? Attitude. The attitude is what matters the most. Therefore, Prabhupada wrote that famous statement. The progress of a devotee in Krishna consciousness depends upon the attitude of the follower. The attitude has to be correct. So the attitude, if the attitude is to please, but somehow some small mistake has taken place, then it is forgiven. But if the attitude is not correct, and then one justifies, and then one tries to, one is not repentant, then it becomes offense. Nam aprad. Boli.
Still, there are two questions in this. How did Indra knew that Vritrasura is a Brahmana? Because that he came to know while he was fighting. But this happened before he started fighting. That discussion with rishis. And second is, Lord Vishnu also sanctioned it. He only, you get that Dadiji's bones, and so Lord Vishnu has also sanctioned. It's not just the rishis, but it was also sanctioned by the Lord. And another question: how he came to know that he was a Brahmana even before the fight began?
So now, of course, here in the Bhagavatam, as far as we have read, we don't find any direct evidence for this. But retrospectively, we can understand, because one thing is that Tvashta performed the yajna, and then from that yajna, this Vritrasura is coming. And secondly, possibly, not mentioned over here, but possibly the Brahmanas may have informed. Possible. They may have informed that, yes, he is a Brahmana. So that's what he's saying. No, the Brahmanas, why did they speak all this then? If he was not a Brahmana, then why did they speak all this? See, even before the fight, they spoke all this. No, that's what Indra is telling. Even before the fight, the Brahmana spoke all this. Shukdev Goswami is saying. Huh? So the Shukdev Goswami is saying. So Indra, he said, when I killed Vishwarup, I received extensive sinful reaction and all that. Huh? So Indra himself is saying this, and then the sages, they are also saying all these things. Na? So that means the sages accepted that he is a Brahmana, right? So in any case, so basically he must have got information from the Brahmanas only, from these rishis, that he is a Brahmana. And so that is why he is afraid of killing. Lord sanctioned it, that is correct. At the same time, now if Indra wanted, he could have not killed him also with the help of his Vajra. And if the Lord wanted Vritrasur to go back to the spiritual world, he could have done it by some other means. Not necessary that Indra only has to become the instrument for killing Vritrasur and Vritrasur going back to God. Not necessary, na? If Indra wanted, and if you would have thought that, okay, he's a Brahmana, I don't want to kill him, fine. Then the Lord could have taken him, Vritrasur, back to the spiritual world anyways, right? Not necessary that Indra only has to become instrument. But of course, so the duty is also there. So that's why when the Lord performs pastimes, there are many lessons to learn. The Lord accomplishes many things simultaneously. So on one hand, yes, we can say it was duty. But on the other hand, we can also say that, okay, he performed his duty, but then it was not necessary for him to have ultimately killed him. He could have fought with him, that's okay. But as far as the killing part is concerned, it's not necessary that Indra only should have done. Yes, anyways, he killed after he left the body. So in any case, Vritrasura had already left. So he was killing dead body. So in any case, all these points are there to be taken into consideration. But then another important point is that wrong advice must not be given for selfish motivations. So these sages, they are giving wrong advice for selfish motivations. Their own selfish motivations. They are thinking that this Vritrasura is causing so much trouble. And they want to make Indra the instrument for killing Vritrasura. So this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells in his commentary. So these sages, for giving the wrong advice, they don't escape. They also have to suffer reaction. What is the reaction they suffered? So when Indra, now as we'll read, so Indra went into hiding in the lotus of the Manasarovar lake. So during that time, King Nahusha was made Indra. And this King Nahusha, he gave trouble to all these Brahmanas for many years. So for 100 or 1000 years, we'll see, Indra was not there. And this Nahusha was ruling. All those years, these Brahmanas had to get reaction. So this Nahusha, he troubled them. And then finally, now Nahusha also exceeded his limit of doing nonsense and ultimately coming to the point of committing sinful activities, wanting to commit sinful activities. So then he also got a reaction. And he had to become serpent. The point is, nobody escapes. That's the point. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada in so many lectures, he often says, the laws of material nature are very stringent. Nobody can escape. Therefore, whatever one does, one always has to be careful. Better to think twice before doing something. So sometimes we take things a little casually. ठीक है, चलता है, क्या है उसमें? But we have to know that everything is being recorded and everything is going to have reaction. Nobody escapes. Nobody escapes. So we have to be very careful, whatever we do. So this is material worlds. And Srila Prabhupada, to explain this, he gives the story of how Yamaraj became Vidura. We know the story, right? So he was going to be punished for what? Piercing an ant in his childhood with some grass. For that small mistake, he was going to be punished. Who? Manduka Muni. Manduka Muni was going to be punished by Yamaraj for that small mistake. And then, of course, he got angry on Yamaraj and he cursed Yamaraj. That's another part. But Srila Prabhupada would narrate this part to show that how the laws of material nature are very stringent. Even for piercing an ant, he had to get reaction. In his childhood, that too unknowingly, but still reaction. That's how material nature works. And what to speak of killing Brahmana. But these sages, they're so coolly telling, oh, it's okay. You kill the whole universe also, no problem. We'll do Ashwamedh Yajnas. All wrong advice. Useless Brahmanas. Giving all wrong advice for their own selfish purposes. So we should not do like these things. So sometimes some funny things like that may happen.
Gave the suggestion of this making the Vajra. He did not say that you will be free from reaction or something.
Yes, he didn't say all that.
So Lord's sanction is different from Lord's will, as we hear sometimes.
Yes, so he gave the Vajra and he told that the Vajra will definitely kill. But he did not tell what will be the future consequences. He did not tell. Now that is for the person to understand. What? The Lord didn't instruct him to kill. The Lord just said, you get this Vajra from Dadichi and this Vajra will be powerful enough to kill. That much he told. Yes. Yes. Here he did not instruct. If you want, we'll go back to those verses. Where is that? Yes, they want, see, basically we read all those prayers, so many prayers they offered. And after all that, they said, oh, we have this enemy here who's troubling us. Please give a solution. So therefore, the Lord is saying, okay. But we read there also, no? There also we read, the Lord was not pleased with them. Correct? The Lord was thinking, array, these useless demigods, they are asking for such a petty thing, useless thing they are asking. They could have asked to pure devotional service, but they are asking such petty. So the Lord was not pleased. Anyway, you go to that verse, what exactly the Lord said that time? कहाँ आता है ये? Yamraj tried to punish. He didn't punish him. He was going to punish, but then Manduka Muni protested. He said, "What nonsense is this? For that small mistake in childhood, you're giving such serious punishment, piercing with that lancet." Dacoits pierced whom?
It comes in Ramayana.
Uh-huh.
Last time comes. It comes.
हाँ वो ठीक है. हाँ so that time what? हाँ आगे बोली. अच्छा. हाँ हाँ. वो देखना पड़ेगा. फर्स्ट कैंटो में प्रभुपाद जी क्या लिखते हैं वो देख लो. मुझे लगता है वहां तो प्रभुपाद जी ये नहीं लिखते हैं. प्रभुपाद जी आई थिंक ही सेज दैट बिफोर ही कुड गो थ्रू द पनिशमेंट ओनली ही told Yamaraj why this so severe punishment. Anyway, somebody can check first canto. You got that verse? What?
When Vritrasura is killed because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, weapons, and wealth. Thus, there will be all good fortune for all of you. Although Vritrasura can destroy all the three worlds, do not fear that he will harm you. He is also a devotee and will never be envious of you.
Oh, so he says when Vritrasura is killed.
Yeah, because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, weapons, and wealth. Thus, there will be all good fortune for all of you.
So of course, he didn't instruct the Indra to kill. No, he said when he will be killed. In that sense, he did not directly tell that you should only kill. When he will be killed, then there will be good fortune. But he didn't say that you only have to kill him. And when the Lord says good fortune also comes in different ways. Punishment also is good fortune for purification. Yes, that is correct. Yes, that is correct. It's not karma fal, that is correct. Everything is happening on Lord's plan. So you saw that first canto? Somebody see first canto, that Yamaraj story?
This Dadichi Muni also has to give up his body. So that reaction.
That he voluntarily did, na?
But they went and asked for his body.
They went and asked, but he voluntarily did, na? It was not that they forced him or something. So he initially protested just to test them. But then later on he said, no, what is the use of this body? Ultimately it's going to be eaten by jackals and dogs. Better use it for a good purpose. He voluntarily gave it up.
Then here also can be said, this Rudrasura himself is telling you take that weapon and kill me.
So of course Vritrasura is his intention is that yes, Indra should perform duty and kill, and then when I die, I'll go back to the spiritual world. That is Vritrasura's intention. Vritrasura's intention is to be killed and to go back to the spiritual world. So, but it was not. But Indra should be knowing, na, that he is killing. He's killing a Brahmana. So here Indra became the cause for killing. But there in that case, Dadichi, he voluntarily gave up his life. Devatas asked him. Huh? You read?
Once upon a time, the state police caught some thieves who had concealed themselves in the hermitage of Manduk Muni. The police constables, as usual, arrested all the thieves and Manduk Muni along with them. The magistrate specifically punished the Muni to death by being pierced with a lance. When he was just to be pierced, the news reached the king, and he at once stopped the act on consideration of his being a great Muni.
See? So the news reached the king, and the king stopped. The king stopped the Muni from being punished.
The king personally begged the Muni's pardon for the mistake of his men, and the saint at once went to Yamaraj, who prescribes the destiny of the living beings.
ठीक है. So anyway, we got the point. So you see, that's what Prabhupada. So we have to speak whatever is there in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada purport, that is what we need to speak. Not here and there. What is there? That's it. Hare Krishna. Okay, 10 minutes break. And then Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, so we'll proceed. That means? Correct. Yes. Yeah, so the Lord is only giving that whole plan, that they should go to Dadichi, ask for his bones. Then with those bones, then Vishwakarma will make the Vajra. So all that was told by the Lord. But then, of course, as here Srila Prabhupada also is speaking on this point of purposefully devised atonement. That is what Prabhupada also towards the end of this purport. Such purposefully devised atonement, however, cannot relieve the performer of sinful acts. Before killing, na? Before killing only, Indra, he went to the Brahmanas, he told them that already I killed one Brahmana, Vishwarup, now I cannot kill second. Then these Brahmanas said, no problem, we will do Ashwamedh sacrifice. So it was all planned before killing. And that is why this whole point comes about, purposefully devised atonement. The atonement was planned in that way, that you kill and we will do Ashwamedh sacrifice, no problem. So therefore it is purposefully devised atonement. And that is the reason for this Indra's suffering. So because of this offense, so killing a Brahmana is sin. But now it has become offense. So therefore the suffering is even more now. So if maybe if only killing was done according to Lord's instruction, maybe not so much of suffering. But because now they did like this, it became offense, then more suffering. Because sin turned into offense now. No. That, of course, originally the plan was to find someone who will kill Indra. But then they made mistake during the chanting of mantras. And so Vritarasura was bound to be killed by Indra. That was bound to happen. So in any case, the whole subject matter of karma is not so easy to understand. Why, what is happening, who is suffering from which reaction, all very complicated. Hmm. But in any case, these are some important lessons, at least for us to learn. How we should not take shelter of the holy name and commit sinful activities, wrong activities on the strength of the holy name or on the strength of some atonement. So these things should not be done. Also, important lesson to learn is don't give wrong advice just for some selfish motives. So sometimes these such instances have taken place in the society of devotees also. Huh? Anyway, we don't want to get into details, but sometimes, okay, you do this, then we will help you. No. But then after that devotee does, then the person who agrees to help, he takes a back seat. Then what? So basically the whole problem comes because of motivations for sense gratification. So one wants to achieve one's selfish motives, make somebody else the instrument, and then take a back seat. So it's the same thing here. But then the point is, nobody escapes. We do some nonsense and think we will escape. Nobody knows, nobody finds out. But everything is being witnessed by so many witnesses, and ultimately Paramatma is noting down everything. So therefore, different, sometimes duplicitous behavior, cheating, so many things take place. So many things take place. But we should know, we cannot escape the reaction. We cannot escape. That we should be assured. We must be ready to face the reaction.
Means as per time, place, circumstances, sometimes we may feel this is better for a particular person, so we may guide him in that direction, and so it may not come out good.
See, basic point is intentions must be correct. See, we may, because of inexperience or whatever, we may not give appropriate advice. That could happen. But if it is ill motivated, that means I know this is wrong advice, but I purposefully give that wrong advice for my selfish motivations. Then that's wrong, isn't it? Of course, we should always try to
feel I can help better than that person, so that will come under selfish motivations. Or we may feel that somebody can get help by me or that person also. But we feel I can help better than like that. So that is also ill motivated. That depends.
Depends. So ultimately, we should be clear what is my motivation, only I can understand. I should be clear of what my motivations are. So if I have a genuine intention to help, and if I think that somebody else can help better, then I should send the person to that other. So our intention should be clear, whatever I'm doing. But especially, see, unknowingly making a mistake can be forgiven. But knowingly making a mistake, knowingly giving wrong advice, that's dangerous. One will have to face reactions for this. Anyway, it reminded me of something. So in Mayapur, there was one devotee who. So I was saying that every day he would go and do Narsim Puja. You know, they do Narsim Puja. So every day he was doing. So I was a little surprised. Okay, so once in a while one does, but every day? So in any case, so he was coming for Bhakti Shastri classes. So then one day he came and said, tomorrow I will not be able to come for class. So I asked him why, what happened? So he said he has to go to court. So I asked why. So the thing was, see, he married a Russian wife. He is Indian, Gujarati. He married a Russian wife. And so then he thought it will be nice to have Russian passport. But for that, one has to surrender one's Indian passport. Then one can get Russian. But he did some illegal things and he got Russian passport along with his Indian passport. But then those people are also smart. So they found out that he has two passports. And when they found out, then he has to face punishment. So I think so he even had to be in jail for a day or so, then managed to come out. Now he has to go to the court. So he did this nonsense, and now to escape reaction, he's doing Narsim Puja. Now what Narsimdev can do? See, this is purposefully doing nonsense. He knows it is against law, but still he wants to do it. Sometimes devotees do these things. So like that, there are other examples also. So then he was running around courts and this and that. Cheating mentality. And then what happened? So cheating mentality continues. Once the cheating mentality comes, then cheating mentality is everywhere. So now he's running after the court and all that. So where he has time to study? No time to study. And so then during the closed book exams, what he has to do? Now, to copy alone is little embarrassing, no? So then he created a group of friends. So all those type of dhila dala people, usually they're always there in the class. So then he collected all of them and together they copied. And जो भी करना है संग में करो. And then obviously when such whole scale copying takes place, and what this fellow, so he knew that he has to do all this nonsense. So then what he would do is he would invite all those course coordinators and teachers. He would invite all of them to his house and feed them nice prasad. So that coordinator also was useless fellow. So he also became victim of the allurement. So he didn't do anything about the cheating. So he also kept quiet when this wholesale cheating was going on. But then those who are sincere students, they get disturbed. But then, because of this wholesale cheating that year, this matter became so big because these people complained. The sincere devotees complained. And the matter went directly to the GBC. It became such a big issue. So GBC sent a mail to the Mayapur Institute authorities. Kindly do the needful. So the point is that this is how cheating takes place. Purposefully done cheating. And this is what is purposefully done. He knows the consequences, still he does it. So these things take place. This is one example. There are many such examples. So devotees are not free from these things. If one is not careful, these propensities are there. And if one is not in good association, taking good guidance, trying to purify oneself, having the right motivations, if these things are not there, then all these things come up. All these things come. Yesterday we were discussing about money issues, no? In money issues, though, oh, so many things. We have seen these things. One person does cheating, the other person, he knows that he is doing cheating, but he also keeps quiet because he is going to get some benefit out of that. But we have seen, nobody escapes. Nobody escapes. Everyone gets reaction. Everyone has to go through some suffering because of this, small or big. So one has to be careful. These propensities are there. And therefore, that's the reason why we have to be very careful with our sadhana practices, good association. If you're not in good association, bad association, then they'll also encourage, "Arey, chalta hai, koi baat nahi, chalo, chalo, chalo." They'll also encourage. But all these things are there. Okay. Text 10. Shri Shuko Vacha Evam Sanchodito Viprermarutvanah Nadripum Brahmahatyahate Tasmin Asasada Vrishakapin. Read.
Sri Shukadev Goswami said, encouraged by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vritrasura, and when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, Brahmahatya, certainly took shelter of Indra.
Okay, so Emam Sanchodita Viprei. So he was encouraged by these Vipras, by these Brahmanas, and that is how he killed. So, as Prabhupada writes, after killing Vritrasur, Indra could not surpass the Brahmahatya, the sinful reactions for killing a Brahmana. Formerly, he had killed one Brahmana, Vishwarup, out of circumstantial anger. But this time, following the advice of the sages, he killed another Brahmana purposely. Therefore, the sinful reaction was greater than before. Indra could not be relieved from the reaction simply by performing sacrifices for atonement. He had to undergo a severe series of sinful reactions. And when he was freed by such suffering, the Brahmanas allowed him to perform house sacrifice. So they didn't even perform the sacrifice. They said, you're not even qualified. So much sinful reaction is there. So then Prabhupada writes important statement. The planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord or undergoing prayashchit atonement cannot give relief to anyone, even to Indra or Nahusha. Nahusha was officiating for Indra while Indra, absent from heaven, was going here and there to gain release from his sinful reactions. So, nobody can get relief. The planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name or undergoing prayashchita cannot give relief to anyone. Okay. So we have to be careful about all these things. Okay, read the next translation.
Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritrasura, and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritrasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in his grief.
So nothing could help Indra. He had to face the reaction. So Prabhupada writes, one cannot be happy by committing sinful acts, even if one is endowed with material opulence. Indra found this to be true. People began to blaspheme him, saying, this person has killed a Brahmana for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness. So people were blaspheming. Therefore, in spite of being king of heaven and enjoying material opulence, Indra was always unhappy because of the accusations of the populace. Next.
Indra saw personified sinful reaction chasing him, appearing like a Chandala woman, a woman of the lowest class. She seemed very old, and all the limbs of her body trembled. Because she was afflicted with tuberculosis, her body and garments were covered with blood. Breathing an unbearable fishy odor that polluted the entire street, she called out to Indra, wait, wait.
Tishta, wait. So this personified sin is in this ugly form chasing Indra. Next.
O king, Indra first fled to the sky, but there also he saw the woman of personified sin chasing him. This witch followed him wherever he went. At last he very quickly went to the northeast and entered the Manasa Sarovar lake.
Next.
Always thinking of how he could be relieved from the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, King Indra, invisible to everyone, lived in the lake for 1000 years in the subtle fibers of the stem of a lotus. The fire god used to bring him his share of all yajnas, but because the fire god was afraid to enter the water, Indra was practically starving.
Yes, so Vishwanath Thakur says that why Indra took shelter in the stems of the Manasarovar lake, in the stems of the lotus? Because this lake was guarded by Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva's associates. So they were guarding the lake, so nobody could enter. So this sin personified could not enter, but also the messengers of Agni, they also could not enter to give Indra the share of his offerings. So nobody could enter that lake. The messengers of Shiva were guarding that lake. And therefore this Indra was starving. He could not get anything. Next.
As long as King Indra lived in the water, wrapped in the stems of the lotus, Nahusha was equipped with the ability to rule the heavenly kingdom due to his knowledge, austerity, and mystic power. Nahusha, however, blinded and maddened by power and opulence, made undesirable proposals to Indra's wife with a desire to enjoy her. Thus, Nahusha was cursed by a Brahmana and later became a snake.
Okay, so at that time they found Nahusha to be qualified. He had Vidya Tapo Yoga Bal. So therefore they thought qualified person. So they made him Indra. But when they made him Indra, then Aishwarya Madanda That is what happens. Once one gets Aishwarya, one becomes intoxicated, blinded due to pride. Madanda buddhir. The intelligence is blinded. That is what Janmaishwarya Shruta Shrivid Edamana Mada Uman. Mada. Same thing here also. Aishwarya Mada Andha. Then one becomes blinded. One cannot understand what is right, what is wrong, because one becomes affected by Rajagun and Tamogun, especially Rajagun, tendency to enjoy. So this is the danger of opulence. And that's what we were reading. Therefore, sometimes the Lord does not give opulence to his sincere devotees, because especially if there is a danger of the devotee becoming proud, then the Lord does not give. But in any case, even if he gives, ultimately the devotee always has to be careful. One can always misuse the free will. So therefore, one always has to be very careful not to use wealth, not to misuse wealth, position, power. These tendencies are all very strong in the conditioned souls. So, even sometimes we find sometimes senior devotees who have spent many years also become affected by all these things, commit mistakes. So, one always has to be very careful, especially when this opulence comes. Any type of opulence, one always has to be careful. Because that's how Maya enters. And then one becomes proud. Once one becomes proud, next step is, yes, pride comes before the fall. But what happens when there's pride? Yes, when there's pride, one thinks I'm better than you. That is the next thing. And so that's what happened here to Nahusha. So then he thought, this former Indra's wife, Sachi, she is meant for my enjoyment. So he's trying to enjoy his post and position. And so he went and told Sachi to come and meet him. So then she went and told Brihaspati. So then Brihaspati, he knows everything. So Brihaspati told her, go tell Indra that she will meet him if he agrees to come in a palanquin carried by the Brahmanas, Saptarishis. So she went and told. But this Nahusha was lusty. So he did that. And then as these Saptarishis were carrying, he found them going a bit slow. One of them was Agastya Rishi. So it said that he kicked him on his head. So you can see the effect of pride. So that much decency he does not have. So these are great rishis, and he's kicking on the head of Agastya Rishi. That's how blind he became. Andha. Cannot understand that much. And told, Sarpa, Sarpa. His meaning was, go fast. But Agastya Rishi said, okay, you become Sarpa. That's how he became a snake. So, good lessons to learn from all these things. How one needs to be very careful. So just like we read in Krishna book about this Gandharva named Sudarshan. You know that, right? What he became? He also became Sarpa. You know the pastime of Nanda Maharaj being swallowed by this huge snake on the Shivratri nights. You read, no? So then Nanda Maharaj calls out to Krishna. Krishna comes, puts his lotus feet on the snake, and immediately the snake transforms into this beautiful Gandharva. named Sudarshan. Very, very beautiful. And then Krishna asked him, so how, such a beautiful Gandharva, how did he become snake? Of course, Krishna knew everything. But still, he wants everyone, all of us to hear. And then he explains that how once he was passing somewhere, and then he sees some sages. I think there also it was, no, there it was Agastya only? Or Ashtavakra. Anyway, some sages. And those sages were not beautiful. And he was thinking, I am so beautiful. Brides. So as soon as he saw these ugly looking sages, he laughed at them. So the sages said, oh, you're so proud of your beauty? Become a snake. Snake, what beauty? No beauty. So this is what happens when there is pride. So one should always be very careful. Otherwise, this is the result. So everyone is getting reaction. So because Indra killed Vritrasur, he got reaction. Because Brahmanas gave wrong advice, they got reaction. Nahusha became proud, he got reaction. Who spared? Nobody is spared. This is how things work. Okay, continue.
Indra's sins were diminished by the influence of Rudra, the demigods of all directions. Because Indra was protected by the goddess of fortune, Lord Vishnu's wife, who resides in the lotus clusters of Manasa Sarovar's lake, Indra's sins could not affect him. Indra was ultimately relieved of all the reactions of his sinful deeds by strictly worshipping Lord Vishnu. Then he was called back to the heavenly planets by the Brahmanas and reinstated in his position.
Okay, so within the stem of those lotus flowers, there was Lakshmi ji. And so Indra was protected by Lakshmi also and by Shiva also. That is how he got protection in that lake. And at the same time, he was meditating on Lord Vishnu, and that's how he got purified of his sinful reactions. And then the Brahmanas called him back. And I think so Brahma also calls him back to Indra. Next.
O king, when Lord Indra reached the heavenly planets, the saintly Brahmanas approached him and properly initiated him into a horse sacrifice, Ashwamedha Yagya, meant to please the Supreme Lord.
Okay, so after he got purified, then they performed Ashwamedha Yagya.
The horse sacrifice performed by the saintly Brahmanas relieved Indra of the reactions of all his sins because he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that sacrifice. O king, although he had committed a gravely sinful act, it was nullified at once by that sacrifice, just as fog is vanquished by the brilliant sunrise.
Yes, next.
King Indra was favored by Marichi and the other great sages. They performed the sacrifices just according to the rules and regulations, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, the original person. Thus Indra regained his exalted position and was again honored by everyone.
Continue.
In this way, great narrative, there is glorifying of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. There are statements about the exaltedness of devotional service. There are descriptions of devotees like Indra and Vritrasur. And there are statements about King Indra's release from sinful life and about his victory in fighting the demons. By understanding this incident, one is relieved of all sinful reactions. Therefore, the learned are always advised to read this narration. If one does so, one will become expert in the activities of the senses. His opulence will increase and his reputation will become widespread. One will also be relieved of all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies and the duration of his life will increase. Because this narration is auspicious in all respects, Learned scholars regularly hear and repeat it on every festival day. Thus ends the Bhakti when the purport of the 66th canto, 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Indra afflicted by sinful reactions.
Joy. So finally, Indra became victorious by getting his post back. At least that is his definition of victory and success. And Vrithranasura also became successful by going back to the abode of Lord Shankarshan. So in this way, both got their respective success. Both were happy. But that's how the Lord reciprocates according to one's desires. Ye yatha mam prapadyant. Okay, any questions? Comments? There's no mention about Brihaspati.
And if we kill him, there will be reactions. At least again go back to Lord and check what else can be done. Means at least should have sincerely repented instead of plotting that. Maybe would it been like that?
Correct. Something should have been done. Something should have been done. That's correct. But he did not do anything. So he thought he'll be saved. Brahmanas will perform Ashwamedh Yajna. No problem. So there was no repentance actually. That's true. No repentance. No repentance, no remorse. Bindas. He killed. So one has to be careful. Okay, fine. So thank you all very much for kindly participating in the Bhakti Vaibhav course, giving us an opportunity to render some service. Always a great pleasure to study Bhagavatam in the association of sincere devotees. So, at least the greatest benefit I get is I get chance to study Bhagavatam and recite the Bhagavatam. So, others may be awake or asleep, but at least I have to be awake. What is that?
Vasudeva Krishna Prabhu, you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. Is it audible,
Hare-
Prabhuji, my voice? Is it
Bolo.
audible? Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
Prabhuji, I had two questions, Prabhuji. One thing is that, like, we hear that whatever punya we do, we get some material opulence and we enjoy some material pleasure for the punya, and whatever sinful activity that we do, we suffer for it. And
Right.
punya cannot counteract sinful like reactions. Now, when we hear kind of atonement that the yajna and all these are performed, they fall into which category? And like how
What-
much
what? What you said? What falls into it?
this yajna and different atonements that which are performed to counteract the sinful reactions, and they commit the sinful activity, but they don't suffer for the sin, and they are freed from the sin by doing these kind of atonements that they perform. So this falls into which category? This is like, is it like
Prayashchita.
considered punya?
Karma Kanda Prayashchita. So this is all what is recommended in Karma Kanda. We read at the beginning of the 6th canto also. So this is Shastric, no doubt. So if one performs some Prayashchita according to Shastra, then at least one is saved from the reactions to those sinful activities. Because what is done in Prayashchita? In Prayashchita, what happens? there is some other tapasya. Correct. Every form of prayaschitta, there is some tapasya. Worship this devata, do this fasting, don't eat this, do that. So that means what? He's suffering only. Only thing is, it's bona fide suffering. So therefore, because he's suffering, that is how he gets purified from that sinful reaction. So therefore, Karmakanda is recommending all these things. But of course, we read over there that the sinful propensity does not go away. But if these things are done according to Shastra, because he is suffering for that sinful reaction through this prayaschitta, through this tapasya, so therefore then he does not get some other reaction for the sinful activity. Therefore, Prabhupada also explains many places, na, that if one is a murderer, if he is hanged for the murder, then he will not get another reaction because he's already getting a reaction. So same principle. So one does prayaschitta is tapasya basically. So then he's already suffering for his sinful reaction. So he does not get further suffering. Chicken?
Yes. Thank you. The second question is that Indra, it is mentioned as it is mentioned in 17th verse, that Indra was ultimately relieved of all the reaction of his sinful deeds by strictly worshipping Lord Vishnu. So at this point of time, like, was he like feeling very great, like repentance, and because of which, like now it is not considered as seventh offense. Now he is like getting rid of all the sins which he has committed. So is it that he was like now fully repentant, he understood his mistake, and now he won't like
Yes,
what was
obviously.
his
So obviously when he was starving within the lotus, so obviously he was repentant. And so it is mentioned, no? So in that when he was hiding within that lotus stem, so obviously he was repentant and he was worshipping Lord Vishnu. So that's how he got purified. And then finally, of course, they also performed the Ashwamedh sacrifice, which is also a big endeavor. So then because of all these things, he has got purified.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, the worship of Lord Vishnu is the most powerful to purify the individual. But then all these factors added to his purification. Okay? Okay, so once again, thank you all very much for your kind presence and participation in the course. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your association again in the future, whenever that be. Of course, your course is ending, right? Let's see. Whenever Krishna desires. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Krishna. Let us thank His Grace Vansivardhan Prabhuji for enlightening all of us on this section of Vritrashur and Indra, the fight, and drawing so many vital lessons from Srila Prabhupada's purport. For the last 5 days, Prabhuji has been beautifully explaining Srila Prabhupada's purport, especially the yesterday's class that Srila Prabhupada from 7th canto, Srila Prabhupada's purport that not a farthing should be used for sense gratification. Prabhuji was highlighting that for quite a good amount of time. So let's thank Prabhuji for beautifully explaining Srila Prabhupada's purport and this section of Bhagavatam by one time loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.